In 1888, a very smart man put his brand new invention into a crate and sent it across the Atlantic Ocean to London, England. Upon hearing this incredible device for the first time, composer Arthur Sullivan recorded a message to its inventor, Thomas Edison. Quote, "For myself, I can only say that I am astonished and somewhat terrified at the results of this evening's experiment. Astonished at the wonderful power you have developed, and terrified at the thought that so much hideous and bad music may be put on record forever. But all the same, I think it is the most wonderful thing that I have ever experienced." This spoken message lives on as the oldest surviving audio recording in history, etched into a cylinder coated in nothing more than candle wax. Like all technologies, the wax cylinder evolved, from the creation of the pressed record, or as it was then called the gramophone in 1889, and the reel-to-reel tape in 1928, to the invention of the compact disc in 1980, and the introduction of the iPod in 2001, sound recording has had many momentous occasions. But perhaps none was as great as 2 days in 1991, the birth dates of Sean Michael Jennings and Matthew Vincent Mariani. Though they would live most of their lives in obscurity, their two paths were destined to cross. Sharing a floor of the hallowed Sheehan Hall at the venerable Marist College and later a dorm at the far less hallowed Garland Apartments, Sean and Matt's love of talking about stuff began to take shape. Then, an idea was formed, and the world was forever changed. On January 30th, 2015, the entertainment landscape was rocked to its foundation. The Goldilocks Zone was born. Just like those original wax cylinders, the show has changed and evolved over time, including the name. But after 100 episodes, one thing still holds true. We have no idea what we're talking about. Tonight, we celebrate our 100th episode. This is Up for Debate. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this momentous episode of Up for Debate. I'm Sean Jennings, and joined for the 100th time by a man that I'm so pleased to sit next to, the co-host with the most host, Mr. Matt Mariani.
Sean Jennings, that was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You did a fantastic job there. It really brought a tear to my eyes, and I'm happy to be aboard with you as the co-host with the 100th episode of Up for Debate.
It is quite an occasion, Matt. We probably never thought it would get to this point. Sadly, someone should have stopped us, and they didn't. Joke's on you, because we did it. What a moment for us.
Mission accomplished, as we say.
Yes, and we
plan 100 episodes.
100 episodes. We plan to spend the next hour patting ourselves on the back and talking about how great we are. Tonight's episode, a look back at 100 episodes of Up for Debate. And there's some really good ones in there. There's some stinkers in there. I think we've got a lot to cover tonight, Matt, but I think we should probably start with the origin story because, a lot of people are just joining us for the first time, or they haven't heard all the episodes. They don't know how this began.
Yeah, no, it's always a good idea. Sure.
Now, do you remember the origin story of how this began?
Gosh. Well, it started with a text or a Facebook message. You were like, "Hey, Matt, I want to start a podcast."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty rad. I'd like to be in a podcast as long as it doesn't take up too much of my time, and as long as you do all the work." I believe were the two stipulations. So
yeah, and we only accomplished half of that. But I will say, no, really, the sort of genesis, we had been doing Up for Debate for probably about a year, or not, for doing Don't Panic for about a year at that point. And the genesis of this came, as I mentioned in our opening, we were roommates for a year and friends, of course. And one of the games we used to play as we were sitting around in the dorm, and I don't remember how we started it exactly, but we would do this thing where we would just take a concept. I think it started mostly with bands, and then we kind of expanded out from there. And we would rate them overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated. And I thought, after doing Don't Panic, I said, I want to do another show. I like this Matt guy. I think he's funny. A good concept for a show would be to do over, under, or appropriate, but as a podcast.
Yes. And so Goldilocks Zone was born. How did we
Yeah,
come up with that name,
you came up with
Goldilocks
that
Zone?
name.
I did find a name that was it kind of fit the attitude of our show, and Goldilocks being like the three bears. The porridge isn't too hot; it's just right, and that's kind of like how we rank things. Like, is the hype around this thing, whatever it was we were talking about, is it appropriate? Is it uh, inappropriate, or is it just overhyped? Is it overblown? Um, and that's where we began. And I don't think we ever followed that format again.
No, we
I
did
think we
for
just kind of
the
we did a
first
couple of
four
episodes like that.
episodes. The first four episodes
Yeah.
we did, and then we're like, this kind of sucks. We're not going to do this.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow that model. I mean, when you apply it to different areas, it kind of loses some of its effect. So we
Well,
were like, let's make it more of a variety show, a variety podcast.
yeah. We went from
Um,
having a concept to
and
no concept at all. And I
then
think,
yeah, exactly. And we rebranded ourselves, and
well, that's the Goldilocks Zone name, which, a credit to you. I wish I had the original list of all the names we considered. I didn't keep it. We pitched around a lot of names back and forth. It was very difficult. It took us a long time to come up with one. And I love the name Goldilocks Zone. I for the reasons you explained, I think it fit our show very well. The problem is nobody knew what it meant. Nobody got it. We got it. We loved it. Nobody else got it.
it was a little bit hard to explain
Yes, it
to
was.
people. We the Goldilocks. Um, I think there were a bunch of times name and make that the name of our podcast. Like, tried to really strain our brains with do some kind of wordplay.
All right. So as you were saying, Matt.
So this plan, I think, around the same time of year, right? Early, it was kind of like mid January or late January, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Reached out to me and had an idea to start a podcast, and um, we can kind of talk about whatever, make it as free form as possible. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. And yeah, the naming area, not our show, a stellar name, really like our. What I guess it's really hard to describe this podcast to someone. That's
Oh,
what I
it's
found.
terrible. Oh,
Because
it's
the first
terrible.
thing they ask, what do you talk about? Right?
Yep.
And what is your go-to response? How do you what do you talk about?
I I usually say, because people are, people find out you do. Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, what's the show about? And I say, oh well, we do Don't Panic, which is kind of the weekly tech news, the tech news of the week, and we do game nights where we play Dungeons and Dragons, and then there's Up for Debate where we really just talk about anything. And no one ever cares about Up for Debate when I describe it that way. They're always way more interested in the other shows because we don't have a hook. We genuinely don't have a hook or a theme, or we don't have anything.
Yeah, that's kind of what makes it so hit or miss, right? It's uh, it's like some of our episodes have been pretty great. I have to say, we've had some real terrible episodes at the same time. You never really know which one it's gonna like which way it's gonna go before you start doing it, and it's we get a good feeling. I'd say about a quarter of the way in, we kind of know if it's going to be a good one or not. So
Yeah, and I would say I think because again, this is, if you can believe it, we've been doing this for 3 years, which is kind of crazy. But I think over the last year we've gotten better about knowing what episodes are going to be good. I mean, I look back at some of like our super early episodes I don't like that much. And I'm like, yeah, I could have told you now that that's a bad idea for a topic. I think we just know a lot more now than we did then.
yeah, we're older and wiser.
Something like that.
Hmm.
Now, Matt, one of the cool things about this show, I in a minute I want to get to our favorite and least favorite episodes, which also might be good for people who are just joining and want to go back. That's one thing I do tell people, by the way, about this show. You did talk about how we sell the show, and maybe one day we'll come up with a hook. But in case we don't, what I do tell people is I say, look, don't panic. You listen to every week. Game nights, there's a story. The great thing about this show, and one thing I really appreciate is you can listen to any episode at any time, and you don't have to listen to all of them. You can only, if there are certain topics that interest you and certain ones that don't, you just skip those episodes. Like, I really like shows that do that give you the option of picking and choosing, and you can scroll through the list and say, oh, that sounds really interesting, or, oh, I don't want to hear them talk about that. It's good for when we do books and movies and things like that if they haven't seen or read it. That is a good hook to me in some ways. You can't really sell on that, but I do like that aspect of the show.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. We, I mean, for a show that's called Up for Debate, I think we tend to agree on stuff a lot, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
Mhm.
But a lot of the episodes are very much standalone things. I mean, with a few exceptions in there, but you could totally go back into our catalog, our backlog, and pull out anything that interests you at that time, and it can be a very one note like kind of thing, which is pretty cool. Some of my favorite episodes were very very random adventure, and I think that kind of we kind of went a long way with that a couple times. So should we get into favorite episodes?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go for it. Do you have any off the top of your head that you can think of?
Oh, the most fun episode to record. I have to say, I liked our gimmicky episodes. Like the one where you got me to eat ants was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was fun. I want to do more.
Yeah,
by the way,
we both ate. I ate the ants and you ate the crickets, and we actually, I think we both had both of them
yes, we did,
at one point. Gosh, yeah, how can I forget that?
and they were not
That
good.
was that was a life-changing experience there. Where did that come about?
Well, that's funny is because it was actually kind of a bit of a follow-up because we did an episode on movie theaters and the history and the what was it? I think it was like the future of media was one of our weirder themes. And part of that was the movie theaters. And you talked about international movie theaters, and some of the movie theater snacks are things like chocolate-covered crickets and chocolate-covered ants at some of these international theaters. And then that gave me the idea, oh shit, I should order some of these, and we can eat them on air the following week. So that was sort of the origin of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to do
That was
more
a fun
food
one. That was
challenges.
a fun one. Yes.
If I look
there are
forward towards
plenty
the
of-
future.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll talk more about that at the end. I'm
Yeah.
sure about what the future holds. But right now, I wanna talk about another favorite episode of mine.
Yep.
And that was the trivia contest with Colby.
Oh yeah, I keep wanting to do another one of those too. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was pretty cool. A lot of fun. You got to be you got to be in your element, being a game show host, and
You were a great contestant.
Indeed. I think it came down to the last question.
It
and
did.
Colby won. That was a very exciting game. Um,
Who won?
Yeah.
Didn't Colby win?
I think Colby won.
I think he did win.
Pretty sure Colby.
Yeah.
He did, and I get my revenge, which has not happened yet. So.
Yeah, that is episode 17. If anyone wants to go back and listen.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that was a fun one. When we talked about sports, I thought that was a pretty good episode too.
Which one was that? We talked about sports?
Yeah, we talked about sports in foreign countries.
Did we?
Oh yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
we
we talked
did.
about sports like no, there's that sport where the people kick the ball.
The weird, Quidditch. We talked about weird and unusual sports.
Yeah, unusual sports.
Yeah,
That was it.
that was a good one.
I thought that was a good episode.
That partners well with our unusual musical instruments episode, which I thought was another really great one.
Yes. That was one of our very earliest episodes.
It was. That was episode 24 was the music one. And the sports one was not far after that.
Yeah.
That was fun. I really enjoyed, and at some point we do have to get into it. I always enjoyed our creative challenges, which has always, I think, been both some of our best and worst episodes. It really put us on the spot. The first one we did, which I know you have never been a fan of, and I thought was hilarious, was when we wrote our own story.
Gosh.
And it was weird and bizarre, and we were very unprepared for it.
It's really creative at. I have to say, I was not expecting hard going in. Like, and I know that's what she said, but that was a difficult episode to film, and I kind of liked it though in the end. I think that was the result. The result was kind of a labor of love that took a long time, and we hashed out a very odd but cohesive story in a way. Like there was the what was it, the Jeff the Union guy or something.
Yeah, it wasn't
like
like Cassie Steele or something was the FBI agent.
And there was an ottoman full of blood.
That's the only thing I remember from that is ottoman full of blood. I don't remember anything else, just ottoman full of blood. And I'm like,
because didn't we set it up where like we had we put names into a hat, or just like a name, like names of random things into a hat, and we had to make a story out of it.
I
or
think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. When we talk about creative exercises, I was a big fan of our commercial episode. I know that didn't really resonate much with you.
No, if I'd say the story one I thought was better actually.
No, well, if I had to pick a favorite one, it would probably have been the commercial. I just thought we did a great job. We kind of knocked it out of the park with the something with it was like a fruit, right? It was like a pomegranate.
No, it was handbags. It was handbags, and it was a commercial set in like the Alps or something, because there was snow.
Yeah.
And we were selling women's handbags.
Yeah, but wasn't there there was some kind of talking fruit or something at the end?
Yeah, I think we did a second commercial in the second half of the episode, and yeah, that was part of it.
That was
very bizarre.
I liked it. I thought we pulled it together. We had I would like to do an episode like that again. I recommend that one to our listeners for sure.
Indeed. I think I was trying to find episode number 45 was the commercials episode. The writing a story one was episode 20. I will say my favorite creative challenge we did, by far, it's not even close for me, is when we made the minor league baseball team.
Oh yes.
That was a genuinely fun episode.
That was a blast. That really was a blast. Greta the Grit.
The Tacoma, Washington Grits with Gertie the Grit, and then you had wasn't like their like spaghetti night where everyone who came in got free spaghetti or something?
No, spaghetti. It was everybody. I think it was pasta night, and they took like we were gonna take 5 contestants from their hands. They had to eat pasta without using their hands, and each pasta was different. There was like ravioli in one, there was spaghetti in another. At least that's how I remember it. And then of course the butterball challenge, where we were gonna butter up their hands with melted butter, and then they would have to play like an inning of baseball or something. That was like those little in between innings vignettes kind of things that they do with members of the crowd to, for entertainment.
Wasn't one of our ideas where the crowd would like text in the calls to the coaches or something?
Yes.
like the fans could control the game?
Yeah, an entire team that was controlled by fan decisions.
That was so bad, but very funny, but very bad.
Yeah.
I think I will say
that was fun.
By far the worst creative challenge we did, and this one isn't even close.
Oh, I'm not even sure if I count this one.
Is when we made a board game. I can't believe we even published that episode. That may be the worst episode we've ever done, period.
Well, you know what happened in that episode was it started out pretty pretty terrible, like awful terrible. But remember, like halfway through, you were like, Matt, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, I want to talk about gum.
No,
I want
you're
to talk about chewing gum.
Matt, you're mixing up episodes. That's not what happened.
For the board game?
No, the episode, I remember specifically, the episode that we switched to gum, which became one of my favorites because our gum discussion was really good. We started that episode talking about myths and legends, if you remember.
Oh, that's right. I am mixing up the
Yep.
episodes. Oh God. So the board game one just kind of went on like a tire fire.
I think at the end we were just like, I guess it's over. Like we just up and quit.
All right, so that one was much harder. I think going in, the parameters needed to be different. We really kind of messed that one up for sure.
Oh, big time.
But
I don't even know if you could do it on an audio podcast. Like it's just not the kind of thing that you can invent. Like the good thing about the baseball team was it was just a very kind of open-ended it could be anything, but a board game you have to have like mechanics and like I think it's just too complicated to do in something like that.
yeah, that's very true. It's too specific, I guess. Parameters are just too tight.
For sure.
But let's go back to that gum discussion because that was another revelatory moment. Our best stuff. You were in favor of the capsule type gum,
Yeah, the hard shell
gum, and I was not about it. And that was a true up for debate moment. Like we actually debated the spirits of hard shell versus gum, and in the end, I won you over. I think in the end, I got you to change your opinion.
I like both. I still think hard shell's better, but I like both.
I don't know. I think you might have to rewatch that episode.
Yeah, that was episode number 47. No, what I loved about that episode is like literally no joke. I swear to God, people you can watch the video version. You literally almost fell asleep halfway through that episode. Not through any fault of your own. It was just a super boring episode. And that's, I think, the only time in any podcast where I've ever gone, time out, calling an audible. Matt, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, I want to talk about chewing gum. I'm like, great, let's talk about chewing gum. Maybe we should bail out of more episodes halfway through. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, yeah, we could see what happens. We can call those the parachute episodes.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, the problem is I kind of like all. There are very few episodes of our that we've done that I really didn't like. So it's kind of easy for me to sit here and say, oh, I like that one, and I like that one, and I like that one, because I think so many of them are really good. I mean, I'll shout out to some of our early episodes, which might still be my favorites. Episodes 7 and 8, where we talked about breakfast, which I think was really fantastic.
Yes, great stuff. The lost episodes, as we call them, right?
Well, one of them. I mean, we recorded 30 minutes of the first breakfast episode, and then I realized I had screwed it up, so we had to do it over. That was probably the best 30 minutes we've ever done on this show, and it'll never be published.
Yes, it really was, and no one will ever hear it.
Nope, it's gone forever.
Oh boy, no, that was gold. That was 30 minutes of gold right there. Yeah, the breakfast episode was also up there. Belonged in the pantheon of up for debate.
Oh, for sure.
I'll
say, another thing I enjoy about this show is we kind of have a couple go-to formats for episodes where we have like breakfast, which I call like loosely lightning round, where we kind of cover a lot of things in a short amount of time. We do episodes where we sort of rank things. We did that with the Marvel movies. One of our most famous episode concepts is the bracket challenge. And we've done a handful of these since we started. The first one we did was our novelty song bracket, which was episodes 25 and 26. We later did our SNL favorite sketches, episode number 42. And then most recently, two episodes that I thought were awesome. I thought were really, really good was our Cheers for Fears Fears bracket for Halloween episodes 93 and 94.
Yes. Yes, that fairly recent episode. That was just a couple
weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. Right. I thought that was good. Yeah, I thought that was that episode did something that I don't think we've ever really done before. We explored some really philosophical concepts in that episode. So to me, that was one of our more thought-provoking ones. So if you go back and listen to it, and kind of get an appreciation for the inner workings of our creative brains here.
Not to just keep going through episodes, I'll just give you maybe two more things we've done, which is we've done our yearly, and we got to decide if we want to do it again this year, our Super Bowl prop bets, which
of course we're gonna. That's become a up for debate tradition.
It is. This would be, I believe, the third time we will have done it. We didn't do it the first year we did the show. We did it the second. But our third time.
That's a tradition I really like. I like how we keep some of the bets the same while we change others, like specific to the players and teams involved.
Yep.
And gosh, I love it when I'm like Weatherneck was going to wear a suit.
Yep. No, I don't know who comes up with these. They're crazy. They're crazy.
Great bets.
And I think
the color of the Gatorade, I don't think we've have we accurately picked a color of Gatorade yet?
I don't think so. That one's also a tough one because they don't usually televise it. So that's I gotta look back. I think you're the all-time winner. I think you've beaten me almost every year, if not every year.
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah, thank you.
That would be correct.
Yeah, not surprised.
That's something that I am very proud of, for sure. I have fun making those bets, though.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it this year.
And making those predictions. Speaking of predictions, we can go back to the. We don't often get political on this show. He made some very interesting predictions when it came to the 2016 election that could on anything. That was a disaster show, or at least the disaster choices, disaster candidates, shall we say? Yeah, I think I picked Bobby Jindal.
Well, but Bobby Jindal was your man. You love Bobby Jindal.
And you have actually, I think your picks were realistic, but I think in the end you had, who did you have?
I remember I had Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, and I think Joe Biden or something like that.
Yeah. All right. So you were a lot closer.
Yeah, because you had Jindal, and who else? I think you had like Chris Christie, maybe.
Chris.
And I don't remember who your third was.
I believe the third pick.
Well, you got to remember. So I just looked it up. That was, by the way, the fifth episode we ever did. Five episodes 5 and 6. So this was very early in the show, and we taped those on February 28th, 2015 was the first one. I don't think a single candidate had announced they were running. Our current president wouldn't announce his campaign, I think, until like June or July. So we were like stupid early to do that. I think
you said it on the show. I believe you did mention it at some point. You were like, yes, these predictions, we have to tell you that these predictions are very early. We were really just kind of basing it off of like the likely candidates that were very likely to run, and the very few that had announced they were going.
Yeah. Yeah. We were early. It was very dumb of us to do that. And what was great is we did our first ever bonus episode where we did a revisit. I got to look at the date as to when we actually. So we did the revisit in September of 2015. And it's literally like 20 minutes of us just like, we were like totally, we blew it. We were so wrong. We were such idiots. Like, Yeah, I think maybe I'll ask you, Matt. Here we go. Would we ever return to talking about politics on this show?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I
I
think we could have a decent informed discussion. It's not something I'd like to do every week because I don't really think that's what we're about. I don't. It's not really what I view this show to be. I kind of view us as more of like an escapist type podcast.
Mhm.
But if things come up, I think we can talk loosely about them, especially if they're things that are directly lives and or the lives of our countrymen, things like that. So our industries, respective industries, those things are, yeah, I think we can open ourselves to that conversation. Sure.
You would probably have to convince me real hard to do it. I would be like
Yeah.
super hesitant, only because I guess this is true of most of the things we talk about, but there are much smarter and better people who talk about it elsewhere, and I get that's why most of the
Yeah.
topics we cover are so obscure that I'm not
Well,
worried about that.
yeah.
Um,
Also, I would not be the one to start this kind of a conversation.
right.
But if you were open to talking about any type of issue, I think I would go along with it. But again, that's not the direction that I see this show.
No.
It's not what I believe that this
And
show should be about.
I also
Like you said, there are definitely way more qualified people to
Yeah.
talk about stuff like that.
Well, and I also suspect, I don't know for sure. I suspect we're going to agree on a lot of things. That's the other thing too, is I don't know how much debate what political topic would not just be us like, yeah, totally, I agree with you, and like, yeah, no, obviously people would
Gotcha.
think that way, and I think it would be tough for us to really kind of get a good discussion going out of these things.
Sean, that is one of the biggest ironies about this show. And it's one of the first things I tell people, like, what's the show called? Up for debate. It really shouldn't be called that though, because we agree on most things.
Yeah.
So like like I said in an earlier episode, I wish someone would go back into our previous episodes and make a clip show of all the times that I said, I agree with you, Sean, or all the times that you said to me, yeah, Matt, I agree.
Yep.
Because I bet it would be a lot. I bet it would be a pretty lengthy clip show of just us agreeing with each other.
We agree easily 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we have disagreed, like on gum, for example, but
yeah, and that was a rare moment.
It was.
I kind of tell people that the show is called Up for Debate because the topics we discuss, those are up for debate. Maybe from a listener to another listener,
Right.
Or less. Like, yeah, we've had listeners call in and debate us on topics from all kinds of things that we talked about.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of guests on the show. I do have to say, it's mostly been you and I. I'm trying to think on our guest list. It's pretty much been Phil, who joined us
Yeah.
for I think an episode and a half. And
What did we talk about? Oh, we talked about moving.
we did a whole episode on moving.
Yes, that was our moving episode.
And that was fun. And then my brother called in on the Monopoly episode.
Oh yeah.
Which was weird. And that's pretty much it. And Colby,
that was cool.
Colby bested you in the trivia competition.
Yes. For some reason, I remember us having a guest on the breakfast episode. Did we not have a guest?
I genuinely don't think so.
I don't think we did. It might have just been
No.
the two of us. I don't know. That's something I think we should do. Well, we haven't had guests immediately on this show. Our movie league. Well, we have the movie league that was kind of a spinoff of our show. But even more closely a spinoff of our show was our sister podcast, Game Nights.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons started right here on this show, which was very exciting back in the Goldilocks Zone era. This was your idea. You pitched doing Dungeons and Dragons.
I did. I thought it would be fun to do that kind of a role-playing game. I had always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'd never actually gotten the chance to play it in person. So I figured, like call some people. We'll do it over Skype. We'll do it part of the show as part of the podcast, and it evolved into a whole new thing that I think we can say with certainty is even more successful than this podcast, the podcast it originated from. I have a good time. Well, I do have a good time doing this podcast. I also have a real good time playing Dungeons and Dragons with you and Dan and Colby. Do you remember plot adventure?
Do I remember what? You broke up a smidge at the end there.
Do you remember the plot of the first adventure we went on? The Dungeons and Dragons adventure?
Man, I don't think any of our adventures really have a plot. I think that's a bit of a stretch. We do a bunch of stuff.
I mean, so far, I'm the only one that's cheated in that I'm the only one that's used the pre-created adventure.
I don't think that's cheating.
The book.
That is not.
Basically.
That's not at all cheating. Thank God you did not do a custom adventure for our first one. We would have been super screwed. We would have been in so much trouble. And frankly, the next time I DM, highly likely it comes from a book.
Well, I think that once we're done with this adventure, the current adventure we're on, Colby's adventure, I think I'm up. I'm the next in the rotation.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm probably I'm on the fence right now, but mine's probably going to be another book adventure. I like the book ideas in that you can embellish things from the book,
right?
And I give you and Dan and Colby for trying to create your own and your own environments. That's got to be real tough, and that's got to take some real planning. I mean, when I DM'd, I like all that, the environment was already there for me. I could change things like on the fly or whatever, but I didn't have to come up with a whole entire world for your characters to interact in.
Well, I'll give you credit. I mean, I think your adventure felt like you were coming up with it. It didn't feel like I knew it was coming from a book, but it didn't feel that way. And I think that's part of the advantage having a book gives you is the confidence to that's part of the problem I felt when I was doing it and making it up is like I wasn't confident it was going to work. I didn't always know where things were going. I was making stuff up on the fly. I think there's a lot of advantage to doing it in a book, but then adding your own spin to it. And I think that's kind of, Dan did a very short adventure, which is probably smart. I think Colby's going to realize it too. I think it's, although he's doing a great job on the current, I give you a lot of credit, Matt. I thought you set us off really on the right foot with the first adventure. I will say, maybe to tease a little bit of the future, I'm going to make a strong push when Colby wraps up for us to try something other than Dungeons and Dragons. We'll see how it goes. But I'm gonna make a campaign for you three guys to try and convince you that we should try some other kind of role playing game.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll talk about that. That's something that a conversation.
I know that we'll have a good debate on. I do know that.
Yes.
I'm not opposed to doing more Dungeons and Dragons. I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually not opposed to trying a new adventure for sure.
I think we would just have to figure out what it is.
Plenty of tabletop adventure games that a litany of choices there.
Yeah.
Pick from. So
yeah.
I look forward to it. I think it'll be good.
Well, and I give you credit, Matt, by the way, nowadays, and no joke, Dungeons and Dragons has taken off. It really is. Over the last couple of years, it's really, especially online, it's growing leaps and bounds. I mean, it's really the hot thing right now. When you pitched us to do it, that wasn't the case. So I really think we were kind of trailblazers. And if we were halfway decent at playing, maybe we could have gotten famous from it. The problem is that it took us a long time to not suck.
Yeah, if we were halfway decent at attracting endorsements, sure.
Yeah, having sponsors. Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have gone pro. We could have been contenders.
But yeah, it's amazing to honestly think about that. We spun off a whole nother show based on something we started here. And that was the time when we changed the name, was when we decided to spin off Game Nights and change the name at the same time and kind of just do an overhaul on the show as a whole. So that was quite a trip to know that we created something good enough to stand. Now we have two things, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Who knows what the future will take us? We have some, not to give anything away, but I know that we have some ideas in the works for future podcasts and future episodes of this podcast. And I think all we can say is to just stay tuned for that.
Well, Matt, let me ask you, are there, I can think of a few, but were there any ideas that we've had that either were so laughable we didn't do them, or we decided was a bad idea and didn't do, or what was left on the cutting room floor? Ideas that we never made episodes, really get mouths watering. Maybe someone will convince us we should do them. I remember one of my favorite, there was a span where you were pitching really some fantastic ideas, and my favorite one you ever pitched that I, to this day, have no idea how we would do a show on it, is you pitched bridges and tunnels.
Yes.
And I just looked at you and I'm like, how can we spend an hour talking about bridges and tunnels?
That's an episode that I think is worth looking at again. Honestly, it would take a little bit of research. I know that's not usually our thing. It's not usually my thing, really. I know that you usually come pretty prepared, and one of my favorite criticisms of the show is that how you always sound like you're extremely prepared and like ready to go, and I basically sound like I'm half-assing it, which I am. I'm pretty much half-assing everything. But the Bridges and Tunnels episode, I can see an introduction to like talking about infrastructure and talking about the not just about the issues that infrastructure that surround infrastructure, but really talking about infrastructure in a real way that I think would be interesting and engaging, and talking about like what are things made out of? What does a city need to function? Like,
yeah, but
resources are allocated.
But you can just go to Wikipedia and read that. You don't need us.
Well,
what can we add to it? You and I.
Eventually, Sean, this was going to lead to us designing our own hypothetical city.
Oh, if we just did an episode where we just, dicked around in SimCity 3000, okay, I'm down for that.
Spoiler alert, that city would have been the setting for the next D&D adventure.
Oh, you really thought this all the way through.
This was like a network of plans.
Well, we'll have to get 2018 is now the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do know, Matt, there was one episode, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the only idea pitched that you've ever said flat out no to. Do you remember this one?
Was it the swearing episode?
It was. I wanted to do a whole episode on which I still think is a good idea. We won't do it. I wanted to do an episode on profanity and our favorite profanity and profanity around the world, which could have been fun. And you were like, Sean, I don't think my career would really take off in the right way if there was just
Sean, I'm a public servant.
An hour-long recording of me swearing. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think it was a good career. I'm open for pretty much discussion, but I think you found my line. You found my boundary.
And good, and I agree with you.
You found the hill that I'm not willing to die on.
I totally agree.
So that's the one. But then again, yes, eating bugs on live and on camera, sure.
Totally. That's
totally
cool.
Okay. That's totally cool.
You did have a pretty tepid response to when I suggested that we should get genetic testing for the show.
Well, I just didn't really know what, I was like, Sean, like in the back of my head, I was like, has Sean been like coerced by, I don't know, like some cult or something to try to get my DNA? Like,
what am I gonna frame you for a crime?
Yeah, I was not sure where. I mean, it does sound like an interesting concept, and I am open to maybe at some point in the future doing some kind of like ancestry.com or something.
Yeah,
but
I put the kibosh on that one. But I thought that was funny. Just I texted that to you and I was like, Matt, would you be willing to take a DNA test for the show? And you're just like,
I think I was just like, oh, brother. You're like, oh, geez.
Oh.
What is he talking about? I
That
think
is
that was what
great.
broke in my mind.
Oh, Matt, God, we've done a lot of these episodes. I think the only thing we didn't really talk about the show would be our movie league,
Right,
which
right.
has been a huge part of the show now for several years. We've done, what is the current winter one? Is it the fifth one? The fourth or fifth? Fourth one? Fourth one?
Yeah.
Fourth one.
Well, we've done two. I think we've done two summers,
Yeah,
and
and
this
this
is
is
our
our
second
second
winter.
winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're a champion. You won our last winter league,
Indeed,
and you
indeed.
are not going to win this winter league, but that's okay.
You know, I didn't really have much hope going in. I think that I made some bad picks, and again, I'm going to blame Dan Miller. The blame falls square on his shoulders with his digital app thing that he created, where we auctioned. It was just too damn addictive to try to like put the numbers in as quick as you can, and I bid on a whole lot of things that I probably shouldn't have because I wanted to see my little name go up there. So I wanted to see the movie go under my name column.
Yeah, and you did get some movies. They weren't very good, but
Yeah, I just I don't know. It was a very fun way to do it. I had a lot of fun bidding on movies. So
yeah, no, those are some of my favorite episodes we do, and it's great because we get a new mix of people who come in, and it's a lively episode when we record those, and that's something that we get to track over several months and have fun with. So I'm really pleased that's become a regular tradition on the show, and it's something I don't think we'll stop doing anytime soon.
yeah, I think that was a pretty great segment on the show. That's a pretty great part of our show. It's become an integral part of our podcast actually, and I think that it really draws in like a whole crowd of people, a whole family
Yeah.
of people, which is pretty cool. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Matt, just to kind of put a fine point on what we've done in the past. I really think we've come a long way. I will say one thing about this show is that I go back and I listen to like the very early Don't Panics, and they are not good at all. It wasn't until like our 10th or 15th episode that we really started to click. And even a while, because we're on 188 on that show. We're catching up quick. And what's great about this show is episode 1 was really good. And while we've had some mixed results throughout, we came out of the gate strong, and we've only gotten better. And I think that's
That was
something
our
to be really proud of.
our Aaron Sorkin episode.
Those
of
two
course.
episodes, honestly, are
Mhm.
awesome. Those are really, they're as fresh as ever. And frankly, we need to do a third one and cover his more recent movies at some
Sure.
point.
That's got to be in the works for sure.
Yeah.
You remember the episode where we debated whether or not a hot dog was a sandwich?
How could I forget? On our sandwich episode, yes, how can I forget? We've done food, Matt. We've done breakfast, sandwiches, pizza. What else? We've done other food.
Um,
We did movie theater snacks.
we did food eating competition,
Yes, we did. We did competitive eating.
competitive eating.
We did kitchen gadgets, which is kind of close.
Hey, yeah, I enjoyed that episode. That was a good
Yeah,
one
we did
too.
two-parter on that. That was really fun, and I ended up buying a bunch. Did I tell you not only did I buy your pepper grinder, I bought one as a gift for someone else. So
Yeah.
it came out well. Yeah, it's been great. I remember when I watched Star Wars for the first time for the show.
Yes, how can I forget that?
That was a really
That
episode
was
35.
great. I honestly don't think I've had more fun on my life. Following your adventure with the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, when I live tweeted
And
it.
as you were tweeting about it, yeah. That was a great. I felt like I was experiencing it right there with you.
It was fun. It really genuinely was like a real hoot to watch them for the first time, have people commenting, and I had people during the live tweet, like famous television critics who I followed on Twitter, who saw it and were like commenting back, and that was exciting. And then that episode 35, was a really good one, where we sort of broke it down, me with fresh eyes and you as someone who had seen it a number of times. And I will say, Matt, to tease what's coming up in 2018, which is going to be a hot year for us, I'm telling you, it's going to be our best year ever. We will, I'm going to put a stake in the ground, we're going to do a prequels episode, and I haven't watched them, and I'm going to watch them maybe I'll live tweet them, we'll see. That's going to be a lot of tweets, I have a feeling, and we're going to do a prequels episode. I think we have to.
Do we, though?
Yes.
Do we have to?
Oh, no, we like super duper do.
Obligation?
We definitely do.
Oh, boy, okay.
Yep. You know what we need to do, Matt?
So.
We got to do, because, never mind, I'm going to skip that point. But yes, we're definitely going to do that. I will say, and I don't know if you want to talk about any other things for 2018 as we look forward. I will say we're going to keep doing the movie league so that the winter, I think, ends like April 1st, give or take. And then the summer will kick off sometime probably late April, early May. And so we'll do another round of those. And then the next winter will kick off sometime in October. So we'll keep that going. We talked about the prequels. We're going to do our Super Bowl prop bets in a couple weeks. So those will be coming up. I want to do another trivia challenge this year. I know we haven't done one we did one in 2015. We haven't done one since. I want to do one this year. It's just a time thing to sit and write all the questions, but I definitely want to do it. And we have to continue our book club, which I thought was a great addition in 2017.
Yeah. No, the book club is something I always look forward to. That's we started that with Ready Player One.
Great episode.
We reviewed Console Wars.
Another great episode.
And those were both a lot of fun to do, and I think they generated a pretty positive response from people out there. And I look forward to the book review episodes, our book club episodes. Yeah,
we're definitely going to keep doing that. I don't know, Matt. Do you have any other thoughts for 2018? Looking forward
toward the future, I think it's safe to say that we could have more surprises, some more interactive eating chat. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
We'll figure out some more creativity challenges as well.
Oh, definitely. I want to revisit the writing a story one because I think we could do better now.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I think 2018 might be the year of us doing even more awesome stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and just to be honest,
kind of taking it to the next level.
To be honest with the audience, I think the biggest thing that holds this show back is just our time. I agree with people who say that we may sound unprepared. It's because we're busy. I'd love to have on more guests. I'd love to do more interactive stuff. I'd love to. I pitched you an idea a couple weeks ago about a very complicated way to do restaurant reviews that as I thought about it, I'm like, there's no way we're going to ever have time to do that. And so I hope, I know some situations are going to change in 2018. I hope that we'll be able to sort of work it out. We've done that with game nights. We've tweaked the format and we've tweaked how we record it, and I think it's made the show a lot better. I think 2018 is going to be a good year for us to really think about how we put this show together and come up with some good ways to really advance it.
Yeah, I think that this is it's important to remember that this show is, it's a labor of love that we do. It's not a full-time job.
No,
it's a little project that we do on the side because we have fun doing it. So, if you're expecting this to be like one of those professional, fancy podcasts with the sound effects and the people that know what they're talking about, then this is not the podcast for you.
But I will say though, and maybe in a little bit in our defense, not that I was saying you were saying bad stuff about us, but I guess maybe I'm patting myself on the back a little bit. I think we do come off as rather professional for the most part, in terms of the quality of the sound and video we're putting out, in terms of our ability to speak and have good conversations. And that's one thing that when we started doing these shows, the really important thing for me was like, there are going to be episodes that are really good and there are going to be episodes that are really bad. I know that's going to happen. And it's going to take a while for the shows to get good. I also knew that was going to happen. But I want to start on day one. I want the episodes to sound good. I want them to be professionally edited. We can always fix the content, but if the show doesn't come off as being legit, that's a problem. When I tell people about this and they look it up and download it on their phones, they're blown away. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys put out these professional of a show, considering you have no budget and no time, and this is just something you do." And they're like, when people have told me, like, when do you find time to do this? And so I think the fact that we're able to exceed expectations in that respect is something that I'm very proud of, that we as a crew, and you and Colby and Dan as well, have been able to do as a whole with these shows. So I think that's been truly fantastic.
Yeah, and Sean, I think you really, like you said before, patting yourself on the back, like, go ahead and pat yourself a couple more times on that back.
Very sweet.
Because this podcast, like what you do and the time you put in to making this podcast happen, and I'm saying this from a place of completely being genuine. Like, I have a lot of fun doing these podcasts with you, and I appreciate the time that goes into crafting every episode. I know it's not easy, and I know it probably costs you a lot of your own money and your own time. But I think that, it's worth doing, because it's something that we built together, and it's something that we will continue to build in the future.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, and don't worry, Matt, you are going to get a bill. No, I'm just kidding. No, but what I will say is that, and this is true, and I say
I'm
this,
just going to keep moving, and then you'll never know where I live, so you can't send it to me. That's my plan.
Is this even your real name?
I thought I moved down here to Virginia for a job.
Nope.
I'll be in Kentucky next year.
God damn it. He's a man of mystery. No, Matt, I'll tell you, a lot of people, I put on my resume when I apply for jobs, I say I do these podcasts because it gets some attention, and people ask me, and they always, because I'm in marketing, they always say, "Oh, how many listeners do you have? How do you get more listeners?" And I say, we don't really have any. And I know that's not true, because I do know that we have people who do listen to the show. It's not a large amount of people, and I know we probably don't know who they are. We'll never meet them. We'll never talk to them. We'll never know who they are. They are permanently people of mystery. But I would like to say thank you to those people, whether you have listened for 1 episode or 100 episodes. It is a treat to know that people are out there, and what I tell people is that even if we had 0 listeners, Matt, I would still continue to do the show, because it's a great excuse to sit and chat and hang out with you, which is such a valuable thing in my life. That's why this is a fun hobby for me. There have been times in the past where you and I haven't talked, and those spans of times are some of the biggest regretful moments I have in my life, is that we didn't do that. So I'm so pleased that every week I get to sit down, and even if it's just for an hour, chat with you. It can be about anything. Even if we didn't record it, I'd still want to do it. So to me, that's, I think, what makes the show good, and why I enjoy it, and I think why you enjoy it as well. And I think that's why the few fans we have really do enjoy it as well. So I think as we celebrate 100 episodes, I think I'm genuinely extremely proud of what both of us have been able to accomplish with this show. And whether we go another 5 episodes, another 100 episodes, another 1,000 episodes, what we've accomplished to date, I think, is very incredible, and I'm not afraid to be humble about that. I will absolutely say that we've come leaps and bounds, and I think this is just a genuinely good show. I'm very proud to be a part of every weekend that I get to do with you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah, that's fun time. I'm also want to shout out to the listeners out there for putting up with us, and hopefully you learned some things along the way. Hopefully you got a couple of laughs along the way, and hopefully you keep tuning in.
Yeah,
it's only going to get better from here, I think.
Oh, 100%.
That is something that I feel like as we keep doing the show, I think that we get more comfortable, we get more confident, and as we topics again, it can be hit or miss. It can all depend on the day. It can depend on the topic, but I think that the future is definitely bright for Up for Debate.
And I, by the way, fully expect us to have terrible episodes in the future. I think that's a very real possibility, but that's why I like it, because we take risks. And I will say, on every episode we say, hey, we want to hear from you guys, the fans, you, the listeners, what you like to listen to and what you want to hear from us. That's just not, we're not just saying that to say it. We're saying it because we mean it. We've had good one of my favorite episodes we've ever done, just because it was so unique, was the uninvention episode. Do you remember that one where we uninvented things?
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was just such a clever idea. That came from a fan. A fan suggested that one, and we wouldn't have come up with that if a fan didn't suggest it. So I think we do want to hear from people, because our ideas only go so far, and there are a lot of better ideas out there in the world that we would love to talk about on the show if people pitch it to us. So please tell us what you want to hear from us, and we're going to be happy to deliver it.
Yeah. Closer audience participation, closer audience relationships, I think are in the new year, I think is something that we should strive for. Having more involvement, because what do you guys want to listen to? That's something that you can email us at our email address, which is up4debate.org, the 4 like as in the number 4. .org/Sean Jennings. That's our email address. So send all emails to that address. We are also on Twitter and on MySpace. So
yes, you can send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Up for Debate, P.O. Box. No, it's true, and we do, we don't get enough feedback, so I think that would be great. Matt, we are basically out of time. Are there any ending thoughts?
We are.
For Matt's like, I am ready for bed, and I'm right there with you. Because we're both early risers. Episode 100, Matt. Any last thoughts?
Oh boy. Well, it's been a doozy of 100 episodes. Like you said, just to reiterate, whether it's 10 more, whether it's 1,000 more, we're gonna make it the best damn shows that we can, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing your time with us, because we know that there are plenty of other podcasts out there, and spending your time with us is very special. It's a very special thing that means a lot to me. I feel like I'm on one of those telethon things now. Where
so we need your donations.
200, yeah. 20 easy payments of $3.99 will get you this tote bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, keep tuning in. We'll still keep having our debates.
We absolutely will. Thanks to you, Matt, of course, to all the guests over the years who have joined us for the drafts and for episodes, and people who've called in, people who've written. We appreciate all of you people who have listened but have not reached out to us. We, of course, appreciate you as well. Our website is upfordebate.tv. We're at upfordebatetv on Twitter, and upfordebatetv@gmail.com is our email address. We will be back next time with episode number 101. And we've got a whole great year of 2018 ahead of us, a lot to look forward to. We hope you'll come back and join us then. That wraps up our centennial celebration here on Up for Debate. On behalf of Matt, this is Sean. Thanks all of you so much for joining us now and for 100 episodes. We'll see you next time for more Up for Debate.
On Up for Debate.
Yes, there you go.